Welcome! The Office of the Chief Data Officer and the Texas Department of Information Resources are pleased to offer this course on communicating with data. In this course, we will talk about how we can improve communication on both the business side of the organization and the technical side to make sure data is structured, managed, analyzed, understood, and used effectively. We will discuss ways to improve communication when talking about data, knowing your audience and different communication styles, and considerations when telling your data story. Data-driven decision-making is now a universal expectation for every level of an organization. Data-driven arguments contribute relevance and significance to actions taken to advance an organization's mission and goals, such as more efficient and appropriate provision of services, detection and prevention of fraud, waste, and abuse, increased cost savings, and increased transparency and constituent trust. To take full advantage of the data they own, organizations and their employees, regardless of their role, must consistently manage, analyze, and communicate with data. Within an organization, data users are generally divided into two types of roles: data producers and data consumers. Data producers, such as IT professionals and data analysts, develop infrastructure and perform statistical analyses, creating visualizations and interpretations of the data. Data consumers, such as business unit staff, managers, and leadership, use data to make business decisions. Effective communication between these roles is at the core of an organization's ability to meaningfully engage with and extract insights from data. Data producers and data consumers often have inherent differences in how they interact with the data based on their job function, training, and personality. These differences can make effective communication challenging. Understanding perspectives from both sides of the conversation is key to overcoming that challenge and achieving organizational goals. At the highest level, whether you are a data producer or a data consumer, there are some things you can do to improve communication when talking about data to people within or external to your organization. One way to improve communication about data is to have a mutual understanding of the business mission and goals, and how the requested analytic or technical solution relates to them. Often requests for data analysis or the development of new infrastructure only include the what, but not the how or the why. Communicating the how and the why in terms of the business mission and goals in the discussion provides context which allows data producers to better understand the request and to design analyses, dashboards, and reports or technical infrastructure appropriately. Additional context also allows data producers to communicate any technical constraints, suggest creative solutions, and provide a better estimate of the time and resources required. Many times, incomplete communication is based on assumptions about what knowledge is common. Both data producers and data consumers have a deep well of expertise they have cultivated as part of their role in the organization. If they work extensively with others in a similar role, it becomes very easy to assume all roles in the organization have the same knowledge, when in fact they may not. Requests for data or new infrastructure should be an ongoing discussion rather than one-way communication, to help revise and clarify reporting needs, to ensure all parties have a mutual understanding of how the request relates to the overall mission and goals, and to ensure agreed-upon expectations. As a best practice, discussions should go beyond the request at hand, or the desire to report solely on performance metrics or key performance indicators. Continued open discussion between data producers and data consumers about anticipated future questions will help data producers be ready to respond when follow-up questions arise, and help data consumers learn the opportunities and limitations of their data. If you are a data producer, make sure you understand the business mission and goals, as well as the desired outcome or impact when approaching a data analysis, dashboard development, or technical solution. Having this knowledge will allow you to ask questions that dive deeper than the request at hand, and may reveal additional information or context that will result in a better product. You should also be prepared to ask how the request should be prioritized compared to other requests that may already be in the work queue, and how the results will provide business value. If you are a data consumer making a request for data and information or a technical solution, provide context and details. Describe how the results relate to the business mission and goals, as well as the desired impact or benefit of the data or technical solution. Rather than assuming others know your priorities, be upfront with why your request is necessary and how it will support the organization and provide value. Be prepared to examine how your request should be prioritized against other requests that may already be in the data producer's work queue. In the event of competing priorities, consider implementing a request review process or utilizing a strategic member body, such as a request review board or data governance council, for assistance in prioritizing requests, especially those requiring costly or time-consuming development. Another way to improve communication when talking about data is to become familiar with the business, data, and technical program areas or domains. Data producers need to understand the business domain they support. Understanding the business mission and goals and being familiar with business terminology, processes, and requirements will provide additional context so questions or requests from data consumers are better understood. Appropriate analyses can be performed, visualizations can be designed accurately and to scale, or more effective technical solutions can be developed. Understanding the business domain can also provide context to help anticipate follow-up questions or requests, resulting in greater efficiency and customer satisfaction. Additionally, business terminology, processes, or requirements may not be the same across units or divisions within the same program. Understanding where there may be differences within the business domain can help data producers ask clarifying questions, resulting in greater accuracy of responsive data and information. Data consumers within the organization are stewards of the data generated, accessed, moved, and used as part of their role. Therefore, they need to have some understanding of the data and technical domains under their stewardship. Data consumers should know what data is available, what kinds of questions can be answered with that data, and what questions cannot. Data consumers can benefit by gaining an understanding of how data in their organization is collected and stored, its initial quality and structure, and what cleansing and formatting activities are required before analyses can be performed, so they can have realistic expectations around the time required for a response to their request. Data consumers can also benefit by gaining a fundamental understanding of statistics and appropriate ways to visually represent data. Not only will this help in understanding the results of an analysis or a report, it will also enhance the ability to think critically about the results, ask good follow-up questions rather than requests for rework, and gain deeper insights more quickly to help make better data-informed decisions. For example, technical teams developing a new data warehouse may face challenges integrating data that comes from different systems. Data is often housed in multiple siloed systems with no common architecture or standard data and file formats. Development of a data warehouse often involves extensive efforts to transform the data from each system into a standardized format and then testing the data for consistency and accuracy. In the absence of a consolidated data warehouse, data teams often cannot conduct analyses or develop reports and dashboards without labor-intensive ad hoc data cleansing and formatting activities. These efforts take time, and therefore meeting tight deadlines is sometimes not possible. If you are a data producer, you may ask questions such as, what is the question you are trying to answer or problem you are trying to solve? Is this request related to any previous requests? What other questions may come up in the future? Who else might be interested in the answer and why? What is the source of the data, and should anything specific be included or excluded? How do you define the metrics or conditions you are interested in? How will this product be used? In what format do you want to receive the data and information? Is there an example of a product you've seen that you like? Do you need a self-service function with the ability to prepare your own reports on demand? If you are a data consumer, You may ask questions such as, what data is available that may be able to answer the question? Are there any limitations or biases in the data I should be aware of? Are there other data and reports or existing technical solutions that may be relevant? Do you have any suggestions on how to format the data product given the goal of my request? Are there other data initiatives in the organization that might be impacted or supported by this request? What other projects do you have that might impact the ability to complete this request by the deadline? Yet another way to improve communication with data is to be careful with the use of acronyms. Acronyms, or abbreviations of names or phrases, are often useful because they save time and space in our speaking, writing, and record-keeping processes, and they often become entrenched in our everyday language. However, acronyms may be domain-specific and therefore may not be commonly known among data users outside of the domain. Furthermore, acronyms are often not unique and may represent multiple concepts, contributing to the risk of confusion and miscommunication. This is especially challenging when technical-related acronyms are the same as business-related acronyms. For example, SNAP might refer to Subnet Access Protocol, or it might refer to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. ADS might refer to Automated Decision System, or Adult Day Services. Data users, regardless of their role or the domain they represent, should establish definitions of acronyms at the beginning of any communication to avoid misunderstanding. If you, as a data user, are presented with an acronym you are unfamiliar with, or if you have any doubts, ask for a definition or clarification. Understanding the business mission and goals, as well as both the business and the data or technical program areas or domains, and being careful with the use of acronyms, helps data producers and data consumers use a common, consistent language to improve communication and minimize misunderstanding. However, there is more to communicating about data than understanding the business mission and goals and using the appropriate business or technical terminology. It's also about knowing your audience and their communication styles. In general, different people have different needs and approaches when it comes to data based on their job function, training, and personality, and therefore often have different communication styles. In addition to using language that is relevant and understandable to your audience, effective communication relies on understanding those different communication styles. For example, data producers may need meaningful, challenging work that is appreciated and valued. They may need details to do their work and may tend to communicate in a detailed way so that others can understand all the complex possibilities. Data analysts in particular are trained to doubt the results of their work and will often calculate the likelihood of error and identify potential limitations and bias. They may find the results so interesting or complex that detailed explanation is warranted. If you are communicating with the technical side of the organization, you should be aware data producers may not fully understand the business domain, or the mission and goals of the program, or the full extent of your data request. Data producers tend to need the minutiae, so the more detail and context you provide, the more likely you will get the information or technical solution you need. Data consumers, on the other hand, may need timely, innovative insights from the data that deliver measurable value. They may need the big picture or the high-level overview that gets right to the point. They may have been trained to be clear and action-oriented and want data and information to be simple, clear, and convincing. The results should be so clear that no explanation is needed. If you are communicating with the business side of the organization, think about which results should be emphasized first and get to the point as quickly as possible, describing the results in terms of the impact on the business or program. While some people on the business side will be more technically savvy than others, it is a best practice to use business terminology rather than technical language whenever possible. Details and caveats are secondary and can be provided after the bottom line is presented, or have them available upon request. The data literate individual appreciates the differences between data producers and data consumers. They understand the two sides may speak different languages, may have different personalities and are usually trained differently. Knowing the audience and understanding perspectives from both sides of the conversation is key to improving communication about data. Therefore, a data-literate individual can tailor their messages to be more in line with what the audience needs and understands, whether the audience is the business professional, technical professional, or the general public. So far in this course, we've talked about some things you can do to improve communication about data, and we've talked about knowing your audience and their communication styles. Now let's go into a little more detail about a particular type of data communication, data storytelling. Data needs interpretation and context to become actionable information. One way to do this is through data storytelling. We may tend to think only data producers can be data storytellers, but data consumers often find themselves in situations when they too must communicate with their stakeholders using data. The data-literate individual can communicate effectively with data stories, no matter what type of data user they are, and no matter what type of data user the audience is. Our brains are wired to pay attention to stories. Good stories evoke emotions, sway opinions, justify a course of action, or inspire further exploration. Data storytelling is no exception. Crafting a story around the data makes the information relatable and therefore more memorable. A compelling narrative or story provides context and helps the audience connect the facts and figures to the larger picture. Powerful stories narrow the findings to a core set of information that gets the point across in a direct and succinct manner. Communicating by presenting data alone, whether in tabular format or as a visualization or dashboard, is often not enough to convey your message. Data, numbers, and facts may fail to get your audience excited or motivated because the data alone doesn't always convey the why of your story. Data storytelling's goal is to connect with your audience and provide context tailored to that specific audience to explain the importance of the data and communicate key messages. Let's talk a little about the components of a data story. Stories are typically made up of characters, a setting, conflict, and resolution. Think of your audience as the characters of your data story. The data represents the setting and the conflict and is the foundation of your story. In other words, data is the statistics and information upon which your data story is built. The interaction between the characters or your audience and the data leads to the resolution. Visualizations of the data, such as tables, charts, and maps, help your key messages pop or stand out and help assist your audience interpret the data. Human brains are naturally in tune with color, size, and shape, and you can use these elements to draw attention to important highlights in the data. However, keep your visualizations simple by determining and prioritizing what is important to display. Avoid unnecessary clutter and elements that are too detailed, aren't immediately relevant, or could mislead the audience. The data should support the story, but not be the story. Always keep in mind who the audience for your data story is, the goal of your data story, and the presentation format that will best fit the audience. A data story's narrative provides context so your audience doesn't have to figure out the story or interpret the data themselves. The narrative explains the key data findings, the importance of the findings, and often suggests potential courses of action or next steps. Your narrative can take many forms. It could be a supporting report or document, an oral presentation, or even call-out boxes in your visualizations or dashboards. Whatever the format, your narrative should always refer to how the data and results relate to the business domain, mission, and goals. In general, a data story's narrative contains 3 elements: the what, the so what, and the now what. The what introduces the topic and the question at hand, and puts the data in context. This is your chance to grab your audience's attention. Understanding the audience's point of view and their priorities will help you begin your data story in a way that is immediately relevant to your audience. Consider presenting the bottom line or most significant findings at the beginning of your presentation or report, or in the top left corner of your dashboard, where the eye naturally tends to look first for many people. The so what of your narrative explains why the data or analytic results are important and how it relates to the audience's mission and goals. Why does your audience need the information, and how will it help them make decisions? In other words, why should your audience care? The so what of your narrative might be included before presenting the data and results, after presenting the data and results, or both. The now what of your narrative calls the audience to action. The conclusion or resolution of your data story might describe the impact on the business, its constituents, or its customers. It might describe what the next steps are and if further exploration is needed. If your data story includes trends or time series analysis, this is the time to discuss whether changes to business processes are needed. Think of your audience as the hero of your data story, and your goal is to guide them to a successful conclusion. Data stories should grab your audience immediately. Clearly explain why the data is important, and set your audience up for success by providing actionable information. If you have told your data story well, your audience should leave feeling satisfied, inspired, and looking forward to the next chapter. You have now completed the course Communicating with Data. In this course, we talked about ways to improve communication between data producers and data consumers when talking about data, knowing your audience and different communication styles, and considerations when telling your data story. For more information on data governance and data management principles, visit the Office of the Chief Data Officer website.